They say memory is a liar. I didn't believe that until I went back to Vinehouse. It had been 12 years since I left that place and swore I'd never return. But grief is a trickster. It doesn't knock, it seeps. When my Aunt Elise died suddenly without a will, I was named the executor of her estate. No siblings, no cousins, no one else left standing. Just me, the last Caldwell. And so I found myself driving up the winding gravel road toward the house on the hill, the one wrapped in ivy and silence, the one that raised me and tried to bury me. I'm Maren Caldwell. I'm 35. I teach behavioral psychology at a university in Boston. I study how people lie, how we mask, distort, deny. I write papers about the stories we tell ourselves to survive. You'd think I'd have seen this coming. But nothing prepares you for the smell of your childhood home after over a decade. Dust, lavender, and something sour underneath. Memory. I hadn't set foot inside since I was 23, since the night of the last fight. Since I left my mother bleeding at the bottom of the stairs. No one talks about that part. They talk about how she got worse after my dad died, about how Aunt Elise stepped in to raise me. They talk about how I locked myself in the bathroom as a teenager with a bruised arm waiting for Elise to come home. They don't talk about how I used to flinch when someone shut a door too hard. Not until now. Not until I found the letter. It was buried under a false panel in Elise's closet, tucked behind old scarves and brittle perfume bottles. The handwriting stopped me cold. It was my father's. Except my father had died in 1997. I was 8, and this letter was dated 3 years after that. I read it 3 times before the panic took hold. If you're reading this, it means Elise didn't follow through. I begged her to tell Maren the truth. I couldn't do it myself, not after what happened in 94, not after what she did. I should have left, but I couldn't leave Maren. Please don't let her grow up thinking it was an accident. No signature, just Dad in the looping, rushed scrawl I remembered from birthday cards. But what accident? And what happened in 94? I searched Elise's drawers, hoping for answers. No journals, no confession, nothing, except a small brass key taped to the bottom of a box labelled tax receipts. A safety deposit box number etched on a yellow tag. The bank clerk hesitated. I showed her the death certificate, court appointment, my ID. She unlocked the box with a quiet click. Inside, 1 cassette tape, 1 sealed photo envelope labelled in Elise's handwriting. Don't show her unless she asks. I didn't open the envelope. Not yet. Instead, I searched the attic for my father's old cassette player, the same one we used for family car trips. It whirred to life, and then his voice. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but Elise says if I don't tell someone, it'll fester. So here it is. In 1994, I found out the truth about your mother. About how she lied to me, to all of us, about how you, Maren, might not be mine. I couldn't breathe. All my life I'd been told he died in a car crash, that he fell asleep at the wheel, that it was tragic but quick. No one ever said he was planning to leave. No one said he had doubts. No one mentioned 1994. I was 5 that year. I remember broken dishes, loud voices, my mother sobbing behind closed doors, Elise coming to pick me up in the rain, saying, "Let's go get ice cream, sweetheart." But it wasn't ice cream. It was hiding. I opened the photo envelope. 4 photos. Me as a baby. In one, I'm cradled by a blonde man I didn't recognise. He looked barely older than a college student. Narrow eyes, strong jaw. Too young to be my father. On the back of one photo, Elise's handwriting. Peter Lang. DNA inconclusive. Julia refuses to talk. Peter Lang. I'd never heard the name before. But suddenly I understood everything. My father suspected. My mother refused. And Elise tried to hold the centre. I did something I never thought I'd do. I visited my mother. She's in a care facility now, early onset dementia. The cruel irony of a woman who spent her life lying, now unable to remember her lies. She looked at me like a stranger, then smiled. "You have Elise's eyes," she said. It nearly undid me. "I found the letter," I whispered, "and the photos." Her face changed like a curtain pulled back an inch. Then she laughed. A sharp, jagged sound. "So it's all coming out now, is it?" she said. "She always said you'd dig." "Who is Peter Lang?" I asked. She leaned back in her chair, eyes fluttering to the ceiling, and then, almost too softly to hear, "He wasn't supposed to love me." That wasn't the plan. What plan? She closed her eyes and began to hum, like a lullaby from another life. "I found Peter Lang 2 days later. He still lived in town, retired mechanic, divorced, no kids. When he opened the door, he paused, studied me, and then said Marin, like it was obvious. We sat on his porch. It smelled like oil and old wood. My mother said you weren't supposed to love her, I began. He laughed bitterly. She was electric, dangerous. I was 22. She said her husband hit her, that he was paranoid. I believed her. He looked down at his hands. They trembled. We had an affair. I didn't know about you until years later. Elise showed up, said I might be the father. I gave a sample. They said it was inconclusive. Did you love her? I thought I did. But she was always playing a game. I don't think she ever knew what love was. He hesitated. She used to call me Plan B, said if Victor ever found out she'd need a backup. I thought it was a joke. I was a kid. I drove away numb. That night, I sat outside Vinehouse in the dark, staring at its windows, wondering if it had always been watching. Holding the truth like a secret it refused to share. I wanted to burn it down. I found the last clue by accident. Boxing up Elise's things, I found a notebook, grocery lists, phone numbers, and then Victor Caldwell, psychiatric eval, 1995, St. Albans Clinic, PA. Victor. My dad. I called the clinic. They had records. He hadn't died in a car crash. He had been committed. After a suicide attempt, because of what Julia told him. She told him I wasn't his. She said she had cheated. She made Elise lie for her and then she took it back. Said it was a test. Said she wanted to see if he'd fight for the family. She broke him. He checked himself out 3 months later, drove off a bridge. There was no accident. There was a choice. A desperate, shattered, final choice. I stood on that same bridge 2 weeks later. Not to jump, to leave something behind. To leave something behind. A photograph. Me and Elise, I'm 9. She's holding me like armor. She saved me. She didn't tell me the truth. She let me find it. Because she knew that some truths can't be handed over like a receipt. They have to be earned, lived, survived. I didn't go back to Vinehouse after that. I sold it. Burned every photo of my mother, donated the furniture, shipped Elise's journals to a women's archive. I didn't want a shrine. I wanted a reckoning. They say blood is thicker than water, but choice is stronger than blood. I chose Elise. I chose my father. I chose the version of myself that doesn't need DNA to know who raised me right. And when that old ache comes, of being lied to, of being tested, of being unwanted, I remember what Elise once whispered when I was 12 and crying in the dark. The vines might grow wild, baby, but the roots are yours to plant. So I did.